The leader of the eagle warrior's silhouette stood in the morning mist. His eyes pierced the darkness. His breath shone in the cold morning air. "Where are you, spirit of the eagle?" he called softly. "You have protected me through years of war. Why do you desert me on the eve of this battle? Is it because I fight my own people? They have forsaken our ways, our traditions. They have joined the accursed Nephites. They deserve to die." He stared at the painted eagle on his feathered shield. No reply came from the hollow image. Already Nochehautl could smell blood in the air. He had been through this 100 times. He should be asleep. Yet here he stood. What was that nagging fear? He wasn't afraid to die. He would rather die in battle than to grow old and wither away on a sick bed. It wasn't conscience. That had been seared ages ago. Nochehautl. It was as if the winds were whispering his name. "Who is calling me? Are you the spirits of my ancestors, or is it the Great Spirit?" "Nochehautl!" This time it was Ollin's voice of flesh and blood. Ollin wore his familiar jaguar skin. "Any scouts?" he said. "No sign of the enemy," said Nochehautl, shaking his head. "They are scared." "They should be," said Ollin. Nochehautl was silent. Ollin was worried. "I never thought we would march against our own people," he said. Nochehautl nodded. Ollin shook his head. "What is it?" "I don't know. I feel as if my life is about to change forever." "They say some can foretell their own deaths," said Ollin. "Not death," said Nochehautl, shaking his head. "Then what?" "Something worse." A common warrior walked up. "Acheron summons all officers." Nochehautl and Ollin exchanged glances. "It's time," said Ollin. Nochehautl grabbed his shield. The sun peeped over the hill. Nochehautl gave the signal. The eagle warriors began the steady march towards the city gates. How could it have come to this? How could he be marching against his own tribe, his relatives? Still, it would be better for him to lead the attack than for the Zoramites to do so. He would show the Ishmaelites as much mercy as he could. The Zoramites would show none. The memory of Uretzi, Pili, and Nochehautl flashed into his mind. Uretzi hugged his neck. She gazed at his blood-stained necklace. Nochehautl cringed. He thought of another Uretzi. He felt her blood hit him. He saw her striking eyes staring at him with a courage he could only imagine. Nochehautl marched out of the trees. There were no scouts or guards, yet he could already see a commotion in the city, as if they knew of the attack. "They will fight after all," he warned the eagle warriors. Ishmaelite men poured out of the city. Something was wrong. They had no weapons. They had no armor. They knelt on the ground and bowed. "Surrender?" Nochehautl thought. "Stop," called Nochehautl to his men. "It could be a trap." The eagle warriors obeyed instantly. Their leader had proven his trustworthiness countless times. The conch shells blew and the drums beat. The common warriors shouted. They stood restlessly, waiting for the signal to charge, but the signal didn't come. Nochehautl walked forward, his weapons lowered. He walked until he was surrounded by bowed forms. The Ishmaelites were mumbling softly. He caught an Ishmaelite. "What are you saying?" he demanded. "May God have mercy on us," said the Ishmaelite. "Which God?" said Nochehautl. "Alconahuacatl? Huitzilopochtli? Quetzalcoatl?" "The one true God, the Great Spirit, our Lord, Jesus Christ," said the Ishmaelite. "Ah!" growled Nochehautl, throwing the Ishmaelite down. So they had joined the Nephites after all. Fight me!" he yelled. Not one of the Ishmaelites stirred. "Fight me!" he challenged louder. He turned himself in circles, exposing every angle of himself. He held his arms out, making himself completely vulnerable. "Will no one fight me? Will no one fight me?" yelled the greatest warrior in the land. "What is going on here?" demanded Acheron, riding up from his usual spot in the rear. He viewed the common warriors, weapons ready. "Fire!" he ordered. They unleashed a volley of missiles that crashed into the prostrate figures like a rainstorm. One of the spears hit an Ishmaelite near Nochehautl. "Thank God," the old man said. "For what?" said Nochehautl. "Thank God I kept my promise," said the old one. "What promise?" said Nochehautl. "To never kill again," said the old one. "Why would you make such a promise?" said Nochehautl, but the old one breathed no longer. Nochehautl looked around. In slow motion, and as if far away, he saw his Ishmaelite people dying on every side of him. He saw Acheron shouting for more blood. He saw the common warriors obeying. A stone hit the side of his helmet, jarring him back to the moment. He reached up mechanically and touched the wound. The sight of his blood on his hand stopped him short. He reached down and held up the necklace with the stain of blood on it. Then something happened. Nochehautl saw his life flash before his eyes, every joy, every pain, and every fear. So this was what the Great Spirit had warned him about that morning, and had whispered to him in every quiet corner of his life. Long had he fought against it. No longer could he hold it off. Against every bit of logic in his head, against everything he professed and emulated, and against his very will to survive, he knew his time was over. He gave in to the one thing he would have gladly died 1,000 times over to have avoided, the one thing that was not possible. Nochehautl surrendered. His Nochehautl fell to the ground. His shield rolled aside. His knees bent. His hulking body came crashing down. His shorn head bowed. His staggering muscles relaxed as he knelt among his Ishmaelite brothers. He would die with them, but he would fight no more. The warrior had at last found peace. The eagle warriors stood stunned. They looked at each other. Some of them nodded. One by one they dropped their weapons. Some of them knelt. Others remained standing as if unable to move. "Cease fire!" cried a forceful voice. The common warriors dared not disobey. Ollin and the other jaguar warriors came out of their ambush. Ollin would not let his best friend be slaughtered like a pig. Acheron turned on Ollin. "How dare you countermand my order?" he spewed forth. "I am not a Zoramite," said Ollin. "Tapilton will have your heart," said Acheron. Ollin stepped forward and faced Acheron. His warriors stood behind him. "Then let him come." Acheron glared in hatred at Ollin. His horse reared. He struggled to calm the beast. He faced Ollin. "Kill him!" he shouted. The common warriors didn't move. None of them dared raise his hand against the mighty jaguar warriors and their leader. Ollin did not miss a beat. He stood in front of the common warriors. He yelled, "I am Ollin, leader of the jaguar warriors. I am a descendant of Ishmael. I defy Acheron. I defy the gods." The common warriors lowered their weapons and backed away. Acheron was furious. "I will do it myself," he said, and without thinking added, "Follow me, Zoramites." Acheron charged toward the standing figure. Ollin sprang into action. He showed his prowess, running towards Acheron as fast as the wind itself. The common warriors and jaguar warriors looked on. The distance between the two figures closed quickly. Acheron leaned forward. Ollin gave a mighty leap and, sailing through the air, crashed into the rider. The two figures rolled on the ground. Ollin sprang to his feet directly. He brought his Nochehautl down on the hapless figure. With experience that could only be born in life or death struggle, Acheron narrowly blocked the blow with his shield. That and his armor saved him from the stroke of certain death. Every Zoramite in the army ran against Ollin. Every Jaguar warrior ran against the Zoramites. A common warrior tackled a Zoramite warrior in passing. The rest stood around as if deciding which side was the safest to join. Confusion reigned on the battlefield. 2000, A Stripling Warrior's Story. Now available on Amazon.com.